We're still in South Philadelphia, and we're with some sisters here from the masjid here, and we want to talk to them a bit about their life as Muslim women in America. So I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves and talk a bit about how they become Muslim, and talk about some of the challenges and issues facing Muslim women here in America. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Fatima Abdul Haq. I have been Muslim for almost 20 years. I was introduced to Islam by a dear friend of mine some almost 30 years ago. And after my quest for spiritual guidance, spiritual uplifting, I researched various religions. Having been raised a Baptist here in America, I researched various religions, and that's Christianity, Catholicism, Judaism, New Age, Islam, born-again Christian, and back to Islam. And I accepted Islam simply because it was a religion that I felt comfortable with, and it's a religion that I felt identified many of the issues that I was dealing with at the time.
Well, let me ask you a question, sister, certainly. Because one of the misconceptions about Muslim women is that they become Muslim for a man or for their husband. So, as you have said, you have made a researched and informed decision about accepting Islam for yourself.
Absolutely. And it is true that some women do embrace Islam through a male companion, a male husband, but I did my research, and not only did I research, I studied some of the religions that I spoke of, but as I said, it was Islam that I felt more akin to Islam, in which I felt addressed many of the issues that questions that I wanted answered. Mm-hmm. And in addition to Islam, or embracing Islam because it addressed many issues, it was the sisterhood that really solidified Islam for me, inshallah.
Mm-hmm. And what are some of the issues you see facing Muslim women here in America?
Well, I guess I'm sure that we don't suffer many of the hardships that other sisters are faced with throughout the world. We haven't been born here in America. We have been afforded many freedoms here. Freedom to work, freedom to own our own business very comfortably. And many sisters here in America own their own businesses. I personally have not experienced any hardships. As a matter of fact, I think one of the things that Muslim women here face is the misconception of what a Muslim woman is. Mm-hmm. And as a result of that, we created a radio show.
Well, let me ask you, what is the most common misconception you encounter that people who are not Muslim think define Muslim women?
Oh, that she walks 5 paces behind her husband, and that she is completely and totally submissive to her husband. We respect our men here in America. We respect our Muslim brothers, and we work together. And that's one of the misconceptions that the sisters of other women who are non-Muslims feel about Muslim women, is that they don't have their own identity. We do, in fact, have our own identity. We own, as I said, we own our own businesses. We work outside of the home, but we do respect the male's role in Islam.
Okay, Sister Shukran, thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sister, just to introduce yourself to the audience and tell us a brief bit about how you became Muslim.
My name is Rashida Abdul Khabir. I took my Shahada 27 years ago. It was at the end of a long spiritual journey as well. But I was fortunate in that in my studies, both in the secular studies and in my religious studies, I had a friend who gave me the Quran. I didn't know what it was at the time. It was given to me as a paperback. I thought it was a wonderful religious poetry. And I mentioned it to a friend of mine that this is the best poetry I've ever read. And it was only Al-Fatiha. And I remember him saying so very clearly, oh, you don't have the real book. And he gave me a copy of the Quran in Arabic and in English with the commentaries. And I read it from cover to cover and took my Shahada. So much, for me, every question that I was looking for, that as far as what our duties here are, what our purpose in life is, all of those things were answered, and I had no problem taking my Shahada. When I took my Shahada here in Philadelphia, there were very few Muslim women that you actually saw on the street. There were, and I worked in Center City, and I would come out at lunchtime and virtually see no other Muslim women on the street. Now, here we are in 2006, and I can hardly walk up a block without meeting another Muslim woman and giving Islam. So I've been able to witness the growth of Islam, particularly among women, because we're so visible here.
And well, let me ask you a follow-up question. How do you explain the rapid growth of Islam and the number of women who are accepting Islam? In spite of this climate today where there's a lot of disinformation about Islam, how do you explain that?
I think particularly for the African American woman, Islam offers the comfort and the spirit that we felt as we've been given our history. You know, African Americans here were enslaved 400 years ago. The spiritual connections of our great-grandfathers, great-grandmothers, those things were passed on to us. And we've been seeking that same spiritual comfort. And I think Islam brings that to us. When you meet a sister, you know immediately the connection. You feel that spirit, that comfort. I think also Islam gives us a framework in which we can operate. It clearly gives our life direction. We know how we're to behave, and in that is a comfort. There's a peace in that, and we're seeking that very much.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, shukran. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Sister Faika Hassan, and our stories are so much similar, and I think that's why, like Sister Fatima mentioned, that the sisterhood is a one sisterhood. I too was in search of a religion. I accepted Islam when my children were very young, and what happened for me is I was given a Quran, and I read the Quran, and I wept because I found what I was looking for, and it answered all the questions because it is in fact a way of life. So with it being a way of life, it answered every question for me with regard to what my role was as a human being towards humanity and what my role was as a woman, and it helped me to identify myself. And when you read the Quran, you do find a true identity. And because, like Sister Rashida explained, we were people who were enslaved for such a long period of time, and we were a people without identity. And Islam gives you an identity, and it's a universal identity, so that you identify with not just African Americans, but you identify with Arabians, you identify with the Egyptians, you identify with the world, and that was the other thing. It just opened up a new world for me. Islam really opened up a new world for me.
And from your life before Islam, how did Islam change your life?
Well, one of the first things was covering, which by Allah's mercy came very easy for me. I put on my headpiece from the day that I took Shahada, and I have not removed it by Allah's mercy. And it was something that was very easy for me, and a lot of people think, oh, well, this is happening and that is happening, you're hot, you're this, you're that. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as you can see, if you look at us, you can see that we are receiving a breeze. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always with us and gives us that comfort. And so it was never a hardship for me. So.
And in your daily interactions, you know, this question must come about Islam and terrorism and Islam and extremism. And as in your form of dawah, how do you go about explaining to the people that terrorism and all these things have nothing to do with the proper religion of Islam?
Well, if I'm asked directly any type of question, I let them know that like what happened, the 9/11 that happened was not in accord with the rule of Islam with regard to wars and things like that. But mostly what happens for us as women is because we're immediately identified as Muslims. So just in our character, and I embrace all people, I embrace all humanity. I'm not standoffish with regard to other women who are not of my religion, and I think that being an embracing person enables people to accept me, and once you can accept me as a Muslim, then, you know, it goes on from there.
Okay, shukran.
Alhamdulillah.
Okay, sisters, I'd like to thank you all very much for spending some time with us and sharing with us some words and some of your insights about the life of Muslim women in America. And we hope that our viewers were able to get a glimpse of what it's like for Muslim women here in America. And we ask you all to continue with us on our journey of discovery of Islam in America.